Thank you.
Hi, my name is Glenn, and I want to thank both you and the solicitor for being here. I think that's the level we're sitting at now with regards to the development proposals. A lot of what you've said or presented are good visions, good general statements, but really what I wanted to ask was a specific question on how that's implemented. So you did say we had prioritized this focus area. Well, that's not what I read in the Eglinton Connect study, where this was the only focus area that didn't have specific language. And it talked about general recommendations for required studies, secondary planning, etc. Those recommendations have not been done, and in fact were deferred in previous years for this area. So we now sit where a developer gave us an application in January of 2013, I believe. The first public meeting was a couple of months ago. And the first chance for this group of people to explain their concerns. The development proposal has gotten worse in the interim. The number of units has risen, and now the developer is legally able to go to the OMB by his own admission. So, to my mind, I'm glad that we now have those two studies in concurrence and accelerated from we don't have a date to sometime in 2016. But I'd like to echo what the previous speaker said in that this developer is not waiting for that, and they're not likely to wait for that. So almost everything about, let's say 939 Eglinton, for example, doesn't meet the recommendations, the general recommendations that you proposed up here for Eglinton Connects. And the wild card to give everybody an out on that is, well, we didn't have specific language for the layered focus area. And as one gentleman said, what we can do is different from what we should do. So we're looking at a community of a few thousand people and developments, not only that address, but the ones beside it, which in total could be anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 people, which would stress everything in this community. And I don't need to go into the details because everyone here has raised those details. What I do want to ask is, given the vision and the appearance of this discrepancy, what's the city prepared to do to support council or to support a legal challenge of the OMB, because it is coming, to assist in this area before the area is destroyed? So what are the specific steps you can take, the ones that are open to you and you can tell us that you can take? And that includes maybe a delay to the developer, not a moratorium. Understand that's not possible, but surely some sort of delay. What about preparation at City Council to support the neighborhood at the OMB so that this quasi-judicial board can make an informed decision? Because not a single thing in the preliminary report or Eglinton Connects is actually translated into action today. So my question is, what can you do to help the community, either directly through the city planning department or through the solicitor?
So maybe I'll begin, Brendan, and then I'll let you speak. So with respect to 939 Eglinton, the developer has indicated, and I know some of the folks from the Leaside Property Owners Association have already begun preparing a working group, and there's going to be a working group, and there's going to be a working group process, and that working group process is going to be a really important part of refining the application as it stands. And you may feel skeptical, but we've had many good experiences with working groups, and what happens in the working group often is the thinking kind of goes two ways. The developer's thinking has to come more in line with the community, and the community has to get their head around change and what that change is going to look like. And when those two start to come together, you can get something actually pretty great. In fact, many people don't realize this because there was so much chaos about it. I mentioned earlier the Humbertown redevelopment, and you'll recall how the community was really up in arms. Well, in the end, the community supported the project. But it took some time, and it took a working group before there to be refinements. But in the end, the community supported a project with refinements and began to see the value that it would add to the community. So that same process needs to happen here. One of the roles that we can play is helping to facilitate that process and ensuring that process is an effective negotiation, because that's really in many ways what it is. There's some capacity needs to happen, capacity building for people who haven't been involved in a process like that in the first, before. There's also some work that the developer needs to do in terms of really listening to what the community is saying about the concerns that they have. So that's something that we can do. The other really important tangible thing that we are doing is focusing on driving forward these policy frameworks. And it might feel like it's a long time now, but once they're in place, they're going to have a big impact on managing growth. And that's really the most important thing we can do, including with respect to the OMB. We do well at the OMB when we have recent policy frameworks. We don't do well at the OMB when the policy framework is from 1985. Then we don't do well at the board. But when the policy framework is recent and updated and represents a broad consensus in the community, we do well. So that's a very important nuance. It's important to know. So really the most important thing that we can do is actually drive very hard to get the focus area study done, so that we have a policy regime in place that will guide growth moving forward. And then for the more immediate applications is that working group process to negotiate an outcome that is in keeping with community vision.
So, okay.
I can answer the questions with regard to the timeline. Can we slow it down? Jennifer's already explained we cannot, and that is correct. The Planning Act, which is given to us by the province of Ontario, establishes hard deadlines within which certain things have to happen, one of which is a decision by City Council, and then the other is a deadline within which the developer can appeal to the Ontario Municipal Board and have a hearing on the merits of the application. So the short answer to your first question is the timeline is dictated by the terms of the Planning Act. We can't vary that. It's etched in stone in statute. With regard to the second question you had about how do I get my instructions, how does council make a decision, it is as follows. The development application gets reported from Jennifer's group to City Council. City Council then makes a decision on the matter. If it, whatever council does, those are my instructions for the hearing. If council supports it, I'm in support at the Ontario Municipal Board. If council refuses it, I'm in opposition at the Ontario Municipal Board. What I can tell you with certainty is that that 64% number, our success rate at the OMB, goes up dramatically when council and the planning department and the legal department are all on the same side. We're all at the OMB together, whether it be in support or in opposition. Where things do fall apart, statistically speaking, is when council perhaps does not take the advice of planning staff, and then I am looking for an outside planner. I am cross-examining my own city planning witnesses. It is not pleasant, and I'll tell you the number is likely less than 64% success rate in that circumstance. So I absolutely echo everything that Jennifer has said about firstly being realistic in your expectations about what to get through the process, and secondly to stay engaged in the process. Think about, the board is never going to say no to a development site, you can't have anything on the site. That's, to my knowledge, never happened. People have rights, property rights, and so what you need to think about is what will make the development better, what can I get, what will assist me in screening, should it be stepped back, should it be lower, should it be less density, should it be more traffic capacity, that type of thing. So the more you're engaged, and I think the more you participate in that process, I think the more happy you will be with the outcome.
Thanks. I don't think we have to worry about participation. I'm looking around at the last meeting. What I'm more concerned about is, respectfully, I don't think I got an answer to my question. What I heard was, we can't delay it. There is a process, which, by the way, if what you said is correct, is already passed because they're already able to go to the UNP. And the city sat on this for a year and a half or more before we even had a community meeting to find out really what the issues were. And in the process, and I'm not an expert researcher, but the stuff I've read, there isn't a single thing in there that says, oh, wait a minute, your business use doesn't increase jobs in alignment with Eglinton Connects. Your heights are nowhere near in comparison. Jennifer, you mentioned you don't want something egregious on the edge of a ravine, so we got a 34-story building at the top of a ravine. So there's a whole bunch of things in there that there's actually no questions from the city that I can see written down saying, we must have an answer to this. Instead, we're embarking on a process, which is good, and thank you for saying that we thought that. Thank you for accelerating the studies, but those aren't concrete steps. And if I were to think through the process you just laid out, normally in my business, we look around after what happens before what till you get to an answer, yes or no, and you're prepared for the OMP. So when's the policy framework you say is our best chance of success of the OMP, and how does that relate to the date you have to respond to the developer? And I could go on, but my question now is, can someone, perhaps the planner, John, put together a timeline for the layered focus area that shows required decisions, studies, and times when the city will actually put forward recommendations or decisions so that we're all informed to know where we're going? Because I don't think we have been in the last 2 years. So is that possible?
Of course, we typically do that on any process, and we'll put it on the website as well.
Again, with the layered focus area review, I'm already sort of doing some of the background work. We have to put out an RFP for that, so that work has started. So when we actually launch the study, we're going to work with the community, and the community is going to be involved in that process. It's not something we're going to do in isolation of the community. We're going to be out with the community, and we're going to be working on that focused area review as part of that. I just want to touch on one thing about 939 Eglinton. Those working groups, actually, I've been in contact with Councillor Burnside's office, and we're in the process right now of trying to work out some dates to sort of do an initial launch for those working groups, and then schedule some dates for the subsequent meetings that we're going to have. So we're already moving on those items.
Okay, no, that's good, thank you. Will you be able to provide a timeline showing the dates, and when will we have that timeline?
I would guess early 2016 when we start the process.
No, that's the start. I said that's when you'll have all the dates.
We're gonna have to sit down and sort of work out when we're going to do sort of all those elements, because there's going to be different elements to the study. There's going to be the transportation component that's going to move forward with transportation services. There's going to be sort of a build form element to that. There's going to be a CSNF study that moves forward with that. So there's going to be a number of components to that. Yeah. So we're still going to sort of put that together. When we do, there will be community consultation. We will work with the community on that.
And will that be before the approval is given for anything in the layered focus area?
Well, we have...
Can't hear you, John.
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
We have, as Jennifer mentioned, we have an application before us with 939 Eglinton. So we're moving forward with that review. And in terms of reviewing that application, we're looking at sort of the official plan policies that we have in place now. We're looking at the work that was done with the Eglinton Connects planning study. And then we're going to be looking to the community through the working group meetings to sort of guide us in this review. Sort of in terms of what happens first, it depends on how long the review for 939 takes, and it depends on sort of how quickly we move with the layered focus area review. At some point, we may get to a point with the focused area review where there's sort of policy direction, and we will use that to evaluate the application for 939. So the two, we want to start the layered focus area review as quickly as possible, but dealing with the reality of we do have an active application in front of us now that the developer can appeal currently.